Well, another season is behind us, and unfortunately for Vojinga, they missed out on the title on the last day, losing 3-0 at home to Breidablik. Oh, hang on, that's the script about the Icelandic League. Faroe Islands. Ah, there we are. Ah yes, the winners, for the first time since 2017, winning their third title, were Vojinga Gøta. 2 players in their squad were also in the previous title-winning squad, Atli Relegation and Solvi Vartenhammer. Incredibly, as Vojinga Gøta were formed in 2008, both players played for the club's 2 forerunners. Atli was at Georg Gøta and Solvi played for Leavik for 5 seasons before the founding of the 3-time champs. With the national team number 1, Boya R. Renetroy, in goal, Vojinga conceded just 14 goals, winning 24 out of 27 and had goals coming in from everywhere. Paul Kausberg scored 12, Fine Justinissen scored 10, Baresen, Nielsen and Vartenhammer scored 9 each. They were a threat from all directions and worthy champions. They will play in the Champions League next season for the first time since 2018. Well done to manager Johan Peter Poulsen, who stepped up from reserves boss to first team manager in 2020 and 4 years on has brought silverware to Sarpureri. In second place is Klaksvik, who pushed them all the way, and with Paul Kleskard ending as league top scorer with 23 goals, they certainly had their usual firepower at full strength. But they lost 4 games this season, which is more than their last 3 seasons combined. Nevertheless, they qualify for the Conference League, which is where they made their historic group stage campaign a couple of seasons ago, and can look forward to a 9th straight season in Europe. Hakan Lunov took charge of the first 9 Klaksvik games of the season, but lost 5 of them, 2 in the league and 3 separate cups. He was replaced with Espen Haug, who saw out the season, winning 21 of his 28 games in all tournaments, but just coming up short for the title. In third place and securing another Conference League space is HB. For a long time it looked like HB were going to be the third horse in the title race, but a run of 5 defeats in 8 games, including to relegation strugglers Toftir and OIF, ended their participation in that race before the final furlongs. HB did however end the season with silverware as they beat B36 on penalties in the Faroese Cup final, their second cup win in a row. When one of the top 3 league finishers also wins the cup, the remaining Conference League spot goes to 4th place, so this cup win for HB was also great news for NSI Runavik. They came back up from the 2nd division this year, but had no problems getting back to where they are more used to finishing and claimed a top 4 spot, as they had done for 9 consecutive seasons prior to 2022. Peter Knudsen was their big threat, as you might expect, having rejoined the club after a few years overseas. They're enjoying their football under Swedish coach Jens Christer Vederberg, former manager of the Klaksvik women's team, so he's no stranger to success. B36 miss out on the top 4 by 1 point and missed out on a cup on penalties, so B36 fans will be disappointed by getting so near yet so far. And also, will be missing out on Europe next season for only the 2nd time in a decade. They had looked to Denmark for their goals as their top 3 scorers were all Danes. Anton Søyberg hit 9 and Zine Daluga and Marius Lind scored 11 each. And despite losing 3 fewer games than NSI, they finish in 5th, drawing nearly a third of their games. With 8 draws on the table, they comfortably tied more games than anyone else. Former Klaksvik manager Magni Hoseth led B36 into the second half of the season after Dan Brimsvik left his long-term position at the club, but he was only out of work a couple of weeks before taking over from Stefan Lendro at 07 Vesta. They didn't hit the heights of 5th like last season, but finishing 6th is still a good achievement. Their top scorers were both Norwegian, as Emil Grun Pedersen and Philip Bratblack both posted 9 goals each, and Bratblack impressed so much in his debut season that he's already been snapped up by Klaksvik for next season. However, it was Vesta's defence that was the problem, conceding 60, the 2nd most in the league, and yet here they sit in a comfortable mid-table position. EB Stramer's last 3 season finishes have been 5th, 6th and now 7th, but for the longest time it looked like they're in serious relegation trouble, but 3 wins in their final 4 games of the season helped steer them clear. 2 of those wins were against top half sides NSI and B36, so when they needed to pull their fingers out, they absolutely did. They lost 17 games out of 27, but only drew 1, turning draws into wins when it mattered. The relegation fight went down to the last day. Newly promoted Scala sat 8th going into the final day of fixtures, and B68 Toftia needed to win at rivals NSI Runavik to keep their top flight dream afloat. Well, at the ground where they beat NSI to stay up 2 years ago, they repeated that feat again in the same bright blue kit, as a demolishing 4-1 final day win kept them up. B68 Toftia's 17-year-old striker Bartold Paul Clean scored a hat-trick, and off the back of this successful breakout season, he has won a trial with Verona's under-19 team in Serie A, one to keep an eye on. Despite scoring just 23 goals in 27 games, the lowest in the league, B68 Toftia dragged themselves over the line to claw themselves to safety. Scala, unfortunately, head down with 20 points, double what they managed during their last stint in the top flight, and despite starting the season fairly brightly, they only won 1 of their final 15 games. Scala only spent 1 week in the relegation spaces, but it's the one that mattered the most. Finally, a season to forget for OIF, just the 1 win all season, a surprise win over HB, and 22 defeats out of 27 games sends them down with 7 points and a huge 85 goals conceded. The teams replacing Scala and OIF in the top flight next season are 2 rival sides from the southernmost island. Although Wojcinga's second team won the league outright, they are not eligible for promotion, so second place FC Suroy and third place TB come back to the top table. For TB, it is a swift return after relegation last season. For Suroy, the club who take their name from the island, it is a much more amazing story as they celebrate 2 promotions on the bounce to take them to the top flight for the first time since 2015, with former B36 captain turned manager Paul Thorsteinsson overseeing 2 promotions in 2 seasons. Here is the second division table, and I do feel sorry for B71 Sandoy there in 4th, who after missing out on promotion a couple of years ago on goal difference, now miss out by a single point. Hoivik get relegated to the 3rd division, which is disappointing for them after merging with Undri and securing mid-table last season. I think they were hoping to kick on, but it looks like they'll be playing in the 3rd tier next year. And while we're doing tables, let's look at that 3rd tier, because while TB and FC Suroy had cause for celebration, their Forgotten Island brothers Royan sat bottom of the whole league with just 2 points all season, conceding a nice round 100 goals. Along with Mivoya there in 11th, they're the only primary teams in the league, with the rest of the league made up of 2nd and 3rd string sides, and it was 07 Vesta B who came away with the title. So there's your ups and downs, your highs and your lows. An incredible season of football, Klagsburg toppled, relegation great escapes, and some great goals which we'll look at in a future video. There's one more bit of news to bring you if you missed it. The Faroe Islands national team have parted company with manager Håkan Eriksson after almost 5 years. The team played 8 games this year and won just 1, a friendly over Liechtenstein. The Faroes played 2 home games in the Nations League against Armenia and Latvia in October, drew them both, and sit bottom of Division C4. There are 2 more Nations League fixtures to come later this month against North Macedonia, but first Armenia, where a win there would see the Faroes overtake Armenia. But failure to win that will probably see the Faroes drop into the Division D relegation playoff. Who will be managing by then is anyone's guess. So there's your autumn update. Well done Wojcinga, well done HB, well done TB and FC Suroy. Commiserations to OIF and Scala. And thank you for joining me for another season, and let's look forward to 2025. Tack for watching, see you next time.